Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, March 13th. We got a great show tonight. Payne from Cloven, Hoof is our guest. Lee is one of my all-time favorite guests to talk to. We must have had him on the show a half a dozen times over the years. The band has a brand new record out, Time Assassin, and they have absolutely killed it once again. So if you haven't heard any of the clips on YouTube, which really just went up the other day, Lee kept this really old school and didn't release much of the music to the general public until the day of release. So if you haven't gone by YouTube to check it out, we're going to be playing a few songs off that new record tonight, as well as some classic Cloven Hoof. But right there, that was Obsession out of Connecticut. I love these guys. That was off the first EP, Martial Law, from 1983. There hasn't been a new record by Obsession since 2012, The Order of Chaos, which was basically just Mike Viscara, and it was like mostly his solo backup band from the other projects that he does. I think the record before that, Carnival of Lies, had one or two of the members from that classic lineup. I'm pretty sure they're all alive. It would be amazing if they can get back together and, even go over to Europe and do one of those festivals or play some shows around here. I know when I talk like that, it's just dreams, because a lot of times it doesn't happen. There's not a big, humongous market out there for Obsession, but I just happen to be a big fan of them, and I hope that they can make that happen, or at least get some new music out. I know Mike did a fundraiser a few years ago for a new Obsession record. It seems like nothing really ever came of it. Who knows? Who knows where the money went? All right, but let's keep the music flowing here. How about a little Cyclone? Fall under his command. Assassin with Warfare. I love those guys. Right before that, we had Running Wild with Chains and Leather, and we started off that set with Cyclone, Fall Under His Command. Years ago, it had to be about 10 years ago, we had most of the guys from Blind Assassin on the show. It was kind of weird because we had the original bass player was on there from the demo days, and then the bass player that recorded with them. So it was kind of awkward, like talking to both of them at the same time because one kind of replaced the other. And even though they came off as being friendly, later on they would both send me emails or text, they weren't crazy about the other one. I don't know how that happened. I have to be honest with you. When we set it up, they all just kind of wanted to call in, so we went with it. All right, we're going to play a set of new music. Let me see. Iman said, what's your playlist for the week? Iman, this is my playlist for the week. I've been playing these 4 albums all week long. It's the new Medieval Seal, the new Overlord SR, Cobra Spell. The album's not out yet. There's just a single, but I've been playing a hell of a lot of that. And we're going to talk to Lee Payne from Cloven Hoof after that. And it's been non-stop Cloven Hoof for me this entire week, especially the brand new record, Time Assassin, which we'll play a couple of tunes off of after the interview. But how about right now we do brand new Medieval Steel. The song is Gods of Steel. This is the band's first record in about 10 years, I want to say. I think Dark Castle came out in 2013. Gods of Steel just came out this year. Bobby Franklin, the singer, is the only original member left in the band. And I have to tell you, maybe it's just maybe he sounds absolutely phenomenal on this new record. So let's get some music on off of that, and we'll keep it going with Overlord SR as soon as we're done. Here's Gods of Steel. Man, what a great set of brand new music. We started things out with Medieval Steel and Gods of Steel, a little Overlord SR. I think it's for Sovereign Reign. They got sued by the Overlord from New Jersey a long time ago. And they had to change the name, so they added the SR to it, which I believe stands for Sovereign Reign. But they came out of North Carolina back in the day. And what's funny is that they were around years and years before the New Jersey Overlord. So I never got how they lost that lawsuit, and they actually spell it without an E at the end. So, but what a great record they put out. That was called Holding the Front Line. And right after that, Cobra Spell with Addicted to Love. That's going to come off their latest EP, Anthems of the Night. They've put out two EPs. I think Love Venom was out in 2020. The band features, I mean, it's a lot of young kids, so I love that they're writing this great music, this catchy metal music. It's a pretty melodic song, but these guys are going to keep it alive. It also features Alex Panza from Hitting on Vocals, who's also singing with Jack Starr's Burning Star. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do with that band. It's been a while since Jack's put out a record. Todd and Michael Hall was singing with the band back in the day, so we'll see what Alex can do with them. It also features Sonia Anubis on guitar. Most people remember her from Burning Witches, but she's been a part of a lot of bands. I'm going to reach out to a few of the members of... I'm going to try to get Alex and Sonia on the show together or separately, and we'll have a lot to talk about. All right, we're going to talk to Lee Payne in a few minutes. We'll play some classic Cloven Hoof before we do that. I saw Jeff Tate is out there, right? And he's doing the entire Empire and Rage for Order albums, back to back during his live shows. Jeff has been out there since, the pandemic broke, a few months after it started, and the first club opened up. He was out there playing, so I give him credit. He was out there for a long time, and I've had Jeff on the show, I think, about 4 times. The first time he was still in Queensryche, and he was so full of himself. He was kind of a douchebag, and I gotta be honest with you. Talking to him, I was scratching my head. He still had that rock star attitude. But the next time I had him on was maybe a month after he got kicked out of the band or parted ways with the band, whoever side you're on. And he was a little different to talk to then. And then after the lawsuit was settled was the next time I had him on, and he was going out as, doing the Operation Mindcrime records. And he was a whole different guy at that point in time. I guess sometimes you got to have the wind knocked out of your sail, to realize who you are and what you are. But, I never thought I'd say I would take Jeff Tate's side over the rest of Queensryche, but I have such a dislike for Todd LaTorre. I'm actually in Jeff's corner these days. And he's out there right now doing the full Empire record and the Rage for Order record, which I don't get because when they had that whole lawsuit going on, which dragged on for 2 or 3 years, it came out that he was entitled to Operation Mindcrime and the second Operation Mindcrime album. That's all he was supposed to be able to do. But yet, the other members of Queensryche at the time, which was Eddie Jackson, Scott Rockenfeld was still in the band, and Michael Wilton, they were allowed to play songs off of those records. They just couldn't do the whole record in its entirety. So they could do the first 7 songs, not do the last one, and that's okay. The whole lawsuit thing never made any sense to me, how it was divided up. They kept referring to it like the Pink Floyd lawsuit, where one fraction was able to play The Wall and the other one wasn't, but they were able to keep the Pink Floyd name. I don't get it. So he's out there doing all these songs, and I don't think he's done any Queensryche songs individually. He's always done them as a whole album, so maybe that's the deal. I have no idea. But Jeff still sounds good, even though so look at, he still sounds pretty good. All right, let's play Crack the Whip. We'll do some classic Cloven Hoof. We'll talk to Lee Payne, and we'll do some stuff off the brand new record, Time Assassin. Here we go. have you back on here again. I thought when I stopped doing the show we'd never talk about another Cloven Hoof record again, but we are, and I'm happy. Time Assassin. I don't know what to say. Holy cow. I mean, I think you guys out have done yourself again.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike, and especially coming from you, like it means a lot. And thank you for the kind words. We really wanted to make it a special album, really, because Age of Steel went very, very well. And it was kind of the second one in the sort of the Dominator trilogy. And a lot of the songs were kind of written around the same time as Age of Steel. So, I mean, originally I envisaged it being a sort of a double album, but in the end I thought it'd be much more interesting, like the way Rush used to do it, just having part one on the album, and like they did with Farewell to Kings, and then it sort of led to Hemispheres kind of thing. And I think the fans kind of like that, and it gives the fans something to look forward to, without divesting everything on the one album. So it's great that I think it was the way I first envisaged it. Really, it was the fans were kind of at the gigs were all sort of saying how much they loved the Dominator album, and we spend a lot of time with our fans. We kind of we love to hang out with them. They're our kind of people anyway. And in a way, it's kind of like market research, really, at the gigs. We find out what the fans like about the band and stuff. So it keeps us on our toes. But it just kept coming back, how much they like the Dominator album. So I sort of started thinking, I wonder if I could sort of envisage sort of bringing the character back in some way. Which I did. I mean, Dominator, the album, it's all about a sort of intergalactic kind of dictator. And the tyrants are around today.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's sort of strangely like a prophet thing, really. Like the album. If there's a message for Time Assassin, it's sort of mankind sort of triumphing over adversity and tyranny, really. And we have to deal with that in real life as well. And so it's kind of strange, really. And Time Assassin is all about the sort of the tyrant being sort of finished once and for all. So, and he was assassinated. So you never know, do you?
No, it's funny that a science fiction story, could actually have more in reality today than anything else. I think that's the scary part of it. But
I mean, that is a scary thing. I mean, it obviously wasn't considered because I didn't know the chain of events that was going to happen. But with science fiction, what you do, you set things in the future. And it's if you do that, you tend to not upset people quite so much.
Yeah.
But it's amazing the way these things have a habit of kind of unfolding in real life as well, So sort of science fiction kind of meets fact, doesn't it? And all the terrible situation unfolding over there in Ukraine, like it's just heartbreaking, and all the innocent people, like. Just because of just sort of tyranny once again, and our prayers go out to them right now. But yeah, I mean, so talking about the album, really, I kind of wanted to bring the Dominator character back. So I sort of thought of a storyline of how he's sort of brought back by an all-powerful sort of alien race who use sort of super science mixed with kind of magic, and they kind of resurrect this sort of Dominator dictator, which is kind of an amalgamation of all the sort of despots from history, really, rolled into one, and basically the Dominator character was supposed to be like the ultimate sort of life form. And what happened was the silicon seed, which he sort of grew from with genetic engineering. It went wrong, and they ended up with like the sort of the tyrant to beat them all. Really, a sort of intergalactic kind of Dark Lord who kind of takes over the galaxy kind of thing. And that's what happened in the first sort of Dominator album. But when I resurrected him sort of again for this one, it was interesting, really, because I needed a good enough kind of storyline, and so his kind of disciples kind of brought him back. And really, the Age of Steel album was sort of the sort of rise of the character again, and him sort of taking on the galaxy one more time. And the Time Assassin album is how he met his end, really. And so with such an all-powerful sort of overlord like the Dominator, it was I had to make sure that he can never come back again. So I thought, well, if somebody could go back in time and assassinate him before he's ever born, that would be a way of ridding the galaxy of him for once and for all. But then it also made me think, well, the sort of agent they get to do this, like this sort of genetically created, like sort of hitman, if you will, really. The time assassin sort of was bred for sort of being the ultimate kind of killing machine. But the character himself, if he goes back in time, he'd cease to exist, and then everything he ever knew would cease to exist as well. So that was quite an interesting kind of concept, you know, the dilemma that if he does go back, then he'll be a hero, but no one's ever going to hear about him. So it would be the ultimate suicide mission in a way. And in the end, sort of the training and the warrior kind of code, he completes his mission at the end and terminates the Dominator. But yeah, it was it was a kind of an interesting story to sort of get down and sort of set to music. And I think it's the best album we've ever made. Really, all the songs hang together really well. And the side B, which is not about the concept, they're kind of self-contained songs, but I think they all sort of fit together fantastically well. So I'm really proud of this album, Mike, and I'm so pleased that you enjoy it. I think metal fans should go out and get this one because it really is a special album, I think.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And when you think about it, you were saying earlier that, you keep in touch with the fans. You want to know what they like, what they find interesting about the band. Because in the end, really, as much as you write music for yourself, you are writing for the people that, support you and want to hear what Cloven Hoof are all about. The whole Dominator thing, now, when it goes back over 3 decades since that record in 87, 88. I think it was 88 Dominator. And you say the fans love it, but is it your personal favorite record? Because a lot of people say, like with me, because I came into the band in like 82 with the first demo, the opening Ritual and the self-titled record, that's my introduction to Cloven Hoof. I went along for the ride for the last I hate to say 40 years, it makes us all sound really old, but it's been that long when you think about it. Outside of the 90s where the band was kind of down, I mean, it's been a 4-decade run.
I think every album as well. Every album's got its own identity, and we've tried to just keep pushing boundaries and not stagnate. Like we're always going forward and we trying to improve. And I think we have. And I think the last 3 albums we've done, have been, really, really good albums, and we've showed a lot of sort of growth there. I mean, the early albums, I can definitely see the dark sort of occult leanings on the early albums. And then we sort of progressed into sort of science fiction. And now we're kind of doing full circle, really, because the album after this, it kind of it will revisit our roots again, like in a lot of ways. So the album after this one will be sort of dark, much sort of darker album, really, with a sort of more of a doomy sound, really. But that's a great thing about music. I think it must be terrible for a lot of bands. They get caught into the same formula and stuff. But we completely refuse to do that. We want to just keep on sort of growing and make every album different, so the fans can find new things to be interested in, really. And it keeps our interest too. So we're always changing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of safe to say that Cloven Hoof has had its fair share of singers over its lifetime, but yet there's always something that's definitive about the Cloven Hoof sound. Whether it's new guitar players coming in, you've been the constant from day one. Different singers come in, but yet it's all Cloven Hoof. I mean, do you look at it as like one continuous progressive journey from the beginning till now, or do you feel like there was chapters of the band that make it Cloven Hoof, but a different Cloven Hoof, maybe around different eras of the group?
I think we've always retained our identity, the essence. Maybe it's because I've always been the writer, and like I never went away.
Yep.
That's why we've got that sort of that continuity. And if there were different writers and things, maybe you'd lose something. But being as I've always written sort of everything, that's the reason we've kept our sound, and we haven't sort of ended up being something else completely. And yes, I do consider it like a musical kind of journey, really. I've always been fascinated with science fiction and horror stuff, and the Marvel comics, and I love Marvel comics, and Greek mythology and Norse mythology, and that sort of those sort of things kind of amalgamate into the storylines for kind of the Cloven Hoof songs. And you know, I've never ever had a sort of you know, when you get a sort of a blind spot, you know, the creative thing kind of dries up, and it never has, you know, like it's strange, really, the whole creative process, because I seem to go into another world when I do that, you know, when I'm writing, you know, like I can just lose like 2 weeks of my life, really.
Yeah.
So many ideas come out, you know, like, and you know, I feel very sort of lucky, but you're quite right. I do try to write as well as a fan of the band, because you know, you have to really listen to your fans, because without the fans you're nothing at all, you know, like, and the fans are everything. So when they, you know, we hang out with them, gigs, we sign autographs, having pictures taken, you know, and their opinions are fantastic. I mean, sometimes I read things into songs which I never ever thought of, you know, like, and I think metal fans are the most imaginative sort of fans in the world, you know, like, and they really get into an album, they really read the lyrics, and you know, it kind of takes them into another world. And I always felt like that, you know, like when I was a fan and listening to bands, you know, I'd read the album sleeves cover to cover, and I'd really get into it. And so, you know, I try to, you know, retain that sort of magic, really, that I felt when I first started listening to metal. So I write for myself, obviously, but I try and write for the fans as well, because I don't want to do anything that the fans can't relate to and they don't think would be Cloven Hoof. And I think, you know, we kind of a broad church, really, in terms of all the different sort of time signatures and all the atmospheres we put on the albums and our sort of lyrical content. And, you know, it's really sort of imaginative kind of world, really. And I really enjoy doing the concept pieces, because they can really stretch you, you know, like you can work within a theme, and I see them as like mini sort of movies, really. And you know, I'm just writing the soundtrack for these kind of movie kind of Steven Spielberg kind of epic tales, really. So you know, it's amazing. So the fans have just kept with us all this time, and you know, I think it's true to say we're probably bigger than we've ever been, really. You know, because you know, we've got all the old guard, you know, like, but there's a lot of young kids at our gigs. Well, there were before COVID.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, and it was incredible, and we had such a blast in America. And can I just say how much I love America, and people should be so proud of being like American, you know. I mean, I think it's the greatest country in the world, and I say that as an Englishman, you know. And you know, the people, you know, the people are so warm, and everything kind of you know, exceeded my expectations, you know. And I love America so much, and I just can't wait to be able to come over there and play for the fans again. You know, I had the greatest time. You know, we had to do 2 back-to-back tours because the demand was so great for us. So, you know, I hope to see everybody in America again as soon as I can. You know, as soon as this COVID madness goes away, you know.
Yeah, it looks like it's starting to die down now and fade away. And I don't want to talk about those American tours because none of them came even close to where I live. So I was very upset because I couldn't get to see you guys both time. But I will the next time. I know it'll make its way through my area. And hopefully, you know, I don't know if it's going to happen this year because we're just getting over it right now. But I think you'll be back next year. And I hope that happens. But,
Yeah.
You know, Lee, I don't know if people realize this, but I don't know if we spoke about it, if I read it somewhere in an interview you did, but you said you had stopped buying, you know, original music way back in the early 80s after Cloven put out that first record because you didn't want to be influenced by what was going on and sound
That's
like
right.
else.
I mean, I'm terrible. Yeah, I'm terrible. What kind of advert am I for metal, really? But what I try and do, I try to not listen to anything because I actually do want to keep that original magic, because so many bands, like, they're fantastic for the first few albums, you know, like, then they lose it because they get influenced by different things. Well, I try and just exist in a bubble, really, so I don't lose that sort of the purity of what we had in the first place, you know. And with the new wave British heavy metal, that sound is still there, you know, it's still inherent in our music, you know. Obviously we kind of add to that, you know, but the actual essence of the band never really changed. You can still tell it's a Cloven Hoof song. And if I expose myself to all different kinds of music, I'm scared that, I would lose that kind of creativity. I'd be too influenced by other people. So, yeah, I have to kind of exist in a bubble, really. And I kind of write as a fan of the band as well, So I think that's why we haven't really abandoned our style, really.
That's funny that you say that, because considering when the band came out, around 79, 80, I
Yeah.
mean, you were in the scene at the very beginning when there really wasn't a definitive sound. There wasn't the new wave of British heavy metal tag was just starting to be labeled on a lot of bands, and other groups were coming out, and everybody was sort of creating their own original thing. And you had this big show, everybody went by the different elements, and you created this whole, aura around the band, and you were doing something completely different back then, and you've carried it on over the years. Have you realized that technically you're the one that has influenced other people, and that the music that they put out has come from what you've done?
I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, all the bands that kind of cover our stuff. It's such an honour and a privilege. It makes you feel really kind of humble when all the bands kind of cover your stuff, and they say what a big influence you kind of were on them. Like when you start out, I mean, we were when we were young, we were young kids. I suppose under the hood of Cloven Hoof, what made us different was I had a kind of a dual love as well. It's like I'd listen to all the metal bands, and I'd love Sabbath, and I'd love Deep Purple, and I'd love Led Zeppelin and everyone. But the fact is, I also loved bands like Yes and Genesis and those kind of prog bands. And I suppose under the hood of Cloven Hoof, there's like a prog, that's kind of a prog influenced band there, but we're too aggressive. We've got the metal power, and we've got all these sort of time changes and stuff that a sort of a prog band would have, but we were aggressive with it. And sometimes, like with songs like Gates of Gehenna and Return of the Passover, I abandoned kind of the verse chorus kind of simple song structure kind of thing, which most bands do. They get a couple of verses and then a bridge and a chorus, and then it's the same all the time. But I approached it from songs that had musical movements, really. Like Gehenna is in kind of 3 different musical movements, and Cloven Hoof that was, and This Is the Forest was. So, but the old classical composers used to do that anyway. You work on a theme rather than just like it's just a 3-minute sort of louder chorus, which a lot of bands did. So I wanted the songs to be interesting and explore things in much more detail. So really, this kind of the kind of playing which we were doing then, we didn't realise we were creating anything different, but we were, because that's what sort of power metals ended up like, and we were playing that back then, didn't we? We've always sounded like it. So we were a power metal band really back in 1979, 1980s, but that it hadn't been invent a name for it really. So it's fantastic the way, like, over in Germany, power metal sort of grew to be massive. But there's a lot of bands who are kind of you can definitely tell they're influenced by us, with all the sort of epic time changes and stuff, and the sort of epic kind of grandiose sort of musical pieces, but it's still really heavy. I mean, that was the difference. I suppose some people think we're important because just as Rush were kind of the link between sort of Genesis and hard rock, I think we're sort of the link between sort of the Rush end and then heavy metal. So I think that's where we kind of pioneered the sort of genre, is because we do have these sort of epic kind of songs which can last sort of 9 minutes, and it has short songs too, but we like to vary everything up really, and a lot of people have sort of copied that style, and it's just a compliment really, and I'm very proud and honoured when people do cover our songs. It's amazing.
It has to be. Let me think about that young kid who picked up a bass and went into a studio and recorded. That's the way it goes. Return of the Passover, Road of
Yeah.
Eagles, a piece of the action. At that age, we kind of live for the moment. Like what we're doing at the time. We're not thinking ahead. We're not even thinking about what we did yesterday. We're just living for what we're doing right now. When you
That's
look
right.
back at that time of your life as a young man recording this music in a genre and in a scene that hadn't even been developed yet, nobody knew if it would take off, if it was going to go anywhere. I mean, were you doing it for just the fun of it, or did you say to yourself, I
Well,
can make a career out of this. We can make this take off. We can make something big out of it. Or how do you look at it now as an adult who's been through it all already? I mean, would your mindset be different now as it was then?
that's a great question. And do you know what? It's exactly the same mindset, because really, at the end of the day, you're doing the music for its own sake. There's probably a million ways that you can earn a lot of money. Like you could do any number of jobs. It's never been about the money. It's about the legacy almost. It's like it's something. If you love something enough and you're passionate enough about something, then you stick to your guns and you protect it and you keep on going. And ever since I heard kind of Highway Star by Deep Purple when I was a young kid, it was like a bolt out of the sky. I never heard anything so fantastic, And I remember my dad, just playing one of my school friends gave me Made in Japan on a CD, and I played it my dad, and my dad went, that guitarist is absolutely incredible, isn't he? And my dad got into it right away, and it was just one of those defining moments in your life. And I'm thinking, that's what I want to do. And, you didn't care whether you earn any money, out of it. You were just playing for its own sake. And at the core of it, that's what's still there. I'm still driven by the love of music, and if I like it, there's a good chance that like-minded people as myself, like other people are going to like it as well. And over the years, I think the fans and I, we've kind of grown together, and I know, and I think I know exactly what they expect of me. So that's why I keep trying harder all the time, really, to fulfill their expectations, because with every album, I think it gets there's more expectations on every album. I mean, I can really feel it sometimes, and and that's what drives me on, really, because I want the fans to really love the albums, and it didn't matter how successful they were. I want albums that people love, for its own sake, not because it was hyped, not because like you're going to earn money out of it. It's just still the same thing. It's the love of the music, and when these sort of songs come into my head, then I want people to hear it, and that's why I fought so hard and for such a long time, really. It's because I know these songs are good, and I know people are really going to get off on these songs. And when we go around the world and get to meet the fans, I think that's my ultimate pleasure, really, because you can hear how much these songs reach people's lives, and it makes us, very proud and very humble, and to travel the world and see people in these different countries and all of them, sort of liking these songs like Reach for the Sky and stuff and singing along them at the show. That's all I need, really. And, they paid me back a million times.
That's a great feeling. And, going back to Who Mourns for the Morning Star, when we were talking when that record came out,
Yeah,
being a big fan of Oscar to begin with, and George being a great singer, when I heard that he was joining the band, I know we spoke about this back then, I was like, what is Lee doing? What is my favorite British band doing? Putting Yanks in the band. They're going to kill that British band. They're going to kill it. And then the album comes out, and I'm like, my jaw drops. I'm like, I never expected that fit to work as well as it did. I have to be honest with you. And then you proved me
that's the
wrong
thing.
again with Age of Steel. And then I saw the live clips of, George doing the older songs, whether it was Russ singing or Dave or anybody. I mean, it was just, I was like, holy cow. And now I can't picture the band any other way. This is
He
the
really
band.
nails it, doesn't it? I mean, the cool thing is that George was already a big Cloven Hoof fan anyway. He already knew all the songs. He was when he was a young man, like living in Panama even. One of his friends got him into Cloven Hoof, and George has been a Cloven Hoof fan like all his, most of his life, really. And so when we played together, we were playing the Keep It True Festival in Germany. And, I was doing interviews kind of all morning and stuff. And I just wanted to check out the band who were on before us. And I thought, we'll go and check out the sound and everything. And, oh, my God, I went, who is that singer? The singer was brilliant. So I was thinking they got a good sound. And I went out the front of house. I went, hey, he looks really cool as well. This is a really good band. Who are they? Sort of an American band called Asker. And I was going, hey, I've got to hang out with that guy after. I'll tell him how good his band is, So I was just we were just getting changed in the dressing room. And then this guy kind of burst into the dressing room and going, where's Cloven Hoof? And I went, well, where are you? And he went, are you Liam Payne? I went, yeah. And he went, wait there. And he went out to the tour van and he came back with all these Cloven Hoof albums. And he said, will you sign my records? And I went, I'll be absolutely honest. I think Asker were fantastic, and your voice is amazing. And we kind of hung out a lot, at the show afterwards. And he said, if ever you want a singer, he said, I'd like you to give me a shot at it. So in the end, sort of when Russ kind of had sort of, it's kind of a breakdown really. But, I hope he's okay now. It's just a shame because I was friends with Russ for a lot of years and, he had a lot of personal problems and he kind of dragged him down. But right away, I thought, well, I want that American singer, and I got in touch with George right away. And he said, get the songs down and send it to me in America and, I'll put some vocals down. And in the end, it turned out to Who Mourns for a Morning Star. And but it's amazing how much alike we are as people. We might have the Atlantic in the way, but George and I, we like the same things. We like the same music. We like the same comic books. He loves Marvel comic books.
Yeah,
when we're on tour, we're always in comic books or record stores. Like hunting down some obscure metal album, and we're just kind of like brothers, really. And I love George a lot. And he really kind of understands where the band's come from, and he knows what's expected. And because he's a fan of the band, it makes him, sort of drives him even harder, I suppose. But I think he's the most amazing front man, and he's so professional. I mean, it's like every single gig, there we are playing like 34, 35 nights straight, one day off. How many bands actually do that in this day and age? But we went across America. We played kind of coast to coast. We played every single night for 37 days. And George was on it every single night. He didn't have one bad show. His voice lasted the whole tour. And he's the first one out there talking to the fans and going to the merchandise set. And, I can't praise him enough, So, it worked. At the back of my head, I thought, well, it worked for Black Sabbath when they had Ronnie. And Ronnie was fabulous with Sabbath. And I love that. I love Ozzy, but I really love the Dio sort of era of Sabbath and stuff. So it worked for them. So I figured it would work really well. But even I'm surprised of how fantastic it was. The chemistry with George in the band. He's just perfect for Cloven Hoof.
I couldn't agree more, and that's what bothers me because I hate to be wrong, but I'm glad I was this time. You guys just have killed it with the last 3 records, and if you have to go back over the band's, lifetime, was there really ever like a really bad time in the band or a rough time in the band or where it kept going? Because when you think about from the Sultan's Ransom maybe to Resist or Serve, there was a lot of changes. Russ was in, Russ was out, Matt was in, Matt was out. Ash Cooper was in there somewhere, I think, right before George. Nothing really much came out of Ash being in the band. Was that a tough time for the band with the constant changes, or was it more when the band broke up for the first time?
Yeah, when the band broke up first time, we had to for contractual reasons. Really, we saw somebody, with a legal knowledge, and he said, well, if you go and split up. Just leave it a year and everything, let everything die down, and then you can just get back together again. He said, and because we had such terrible. Well, basically, what happened? We got in our early days, CBS, the biggest. They're Sony Records now, aren't they? They were the biggest label in the world, really. And when we released the album Ritual, we got to number 18 in the heavy metal charts, and all the papers were writing about us. And so we were going to be CBS's next big thing. And we had David Hemmings managers. He was the manager of Judas Priest, and Pat Travers. And he was negotiating an incredible deal for us. So, but he died. And when he died, a lot of people claimed they had a piece of the band. And we had nothing but legal problems, for years and years. So in the end, we thought, well, OK, then we'll disband for a year and then get back together. But unfortunately for us, they just kept renewing the option. So instead, that 3 years ended up as like 9-10 years, and it was hell, because I could have been sued if I even sang in a car park in front of 6 people, like it was crazy, irreparable damages. I mean, it was incredible what was in the contracts. So anyway, like when somebody forgot to renew the contract, I kind of got back together with the band, but various band members were in different countries and stuff, so it was difficult. Then we made Eye of the Sun, and that was very difficult period, because like you had kind of new people and stuff who were very good, but it sort of I realised it wasn't going to have the same kind of chemistry. And in the end, when we did get the band back together, people and agendas changed. So you do get that in bands, and considering the lineup we got now, I mean, I've had George, amazingly enough, we had George about like 5-6 years. Chris, the guitar player, he's been with me over 11 years, and Luke on guitar's been sort of 8 years, and even Bristow the drummer has been with it 5 years. So we've had the most stable lineup probably since the early days, and I'm sure that's why the albums are so good, really, because the chemistry's there and we all know each other real well, and we're used to each other's kind of playing style, and it always works, like we haven't done a bad show. Every show is great, and the albums have turned out fantastically well. So it's taken a long time, really, for me to get the right lineup, hasn't it? 40 years.
Hey, it's working, Lee. So I mean, it killed me when you guys broke up the first time around. I don't know if it bothered me more that one of my favorite bands was going away, or that David Potter was all of a sudden Patrick Diamond singing for H-Bomb. I don't know what was worse.
Yeah. It's so difficult. And the thing is, like I've a lot of bands sort of ask, but there's no easy solution to it, because you don't know what other musicians are like until you work with them, and everything seems fine, and then you kind of think, well, he's having trouble playing this, or he's having trouble singing that, and in the end you kind of compromise, because say he can't sing that part, but you should never compromise. So in the end I just sort of thought, well, there's no two ways about it. If people sort of are not up to the job, then you got to change them, and sometimes it can be attitude. They've got a bad attitude with the fans and stuff. So at the end of the day, you just have to keep persevering and hoping you'll get the right band lineup together. And it's taken me a long time to get the right people, but we've been together quite a long time now, and I tell you what, I enjoy making music now more than I've ever done, Mike. I feel so lucky to be able to be still doing this, like all these years later. And I just want to thank the fans for sticking with us, because they're the reason we do it, and thank God that they still like what we do.
They do, we do. It's true. I never really thought about that. It must be hard when you have to kind of limit your writing and what you want to put out there because of the people you're playing with, because maybe the singer can't sing, the way you wanted to. With George in the band now, I don't see that being a problem. I mean, I think that's probably why you feel more free with your writing now, and the songs are just better than they've ever been, because there's no limit or boundary put on what you could record or write.
That's absolutely true. You've totally nailed it. Pardon me. George can sing anything fantastic. He can hit any note you need. He sings with power and passion. But above everything, just like all the great singers, George knows how to live a song. He actually expresses it, and you feel like it's really happening to him. Now, we've had good singers before, like they can hit the notes, they can hit high notes, but they don't live the song. And George really knows how to put a song over, because that's the difference between George and everyone else. Is George actually lives a song and he can act it out. And, when George sings, you believe it. And obviously he's got the fantastic sort of husky voice and stuff, and he can hit the high notes. But George has got the whole package, really. He looks great. He's super dedicated, and a singer like that, a sort of rare as hen's teeth, really. And I'm just thank God, really. We kind of met up at Keep It True, he was really George is the difference, really. I think the band's kind of raised the bar now. It's because I'm not limited by anything I can write now, because George can sing anything well.
And the album actually is officially going to be released tomorrow. We're going to hear this interview Sunday, so it'll already be out for a day or two, and a lot of people will finally get to hear it. What I love is that, I don't know if it was intentional with this record, but it seems like it's been like that for the last few, that you don't over bombard people or overwhelm them with the record before it comes out. So when it comes out, it's like, I kind of heard it all already. Nobody's really seen video clips of the songs on here. Only a few of the press and people that have gotten advanced copies, they've played a little bit of it here and there. It's still a mystery to a lot of people. So when it comes out, it's like that excitement is there that there's a new record I'm going to get to play, and I haven't heard the whole record before it even came out already.
Yeah, do you know what? It's kind of like all the bands I always loved. They weren't the hype bands. It's like an underground, isn't it? And somehow it feels more real. It's genuine. Cloven Hoof are the real deal, because we don't do that. It's word of mouth every time, and we get bigger just because of the actual fans, really, and their taste. There's no hype or artifice. And when our albums come out, everybody seems to sort of get really excited about them, because it comes out of nowhere. And I love that, and it stays true, really, to the roots of new wave of British heavy metal, because it grew out of a real kind of underground scene, that these people were making these fantastic albums, better than everybody else's, but you never used to hear about the bands, and it was just word of mouth. And we've kind of managed to keep that, so I'm quite proud of that.
You should be. It's amazing what you put out. This record is on the last album. Came out on Pure Steel Records. You went with a different label for this one.
Yeah, that's right. And Pure Steel, they didn't do anything wrong. It's just the fact that they were better placed in America, because a great friend of mine, Bob Mitchell, was in America, and he's kind of employed by the label. And I knew when we were in America, he'd really kind of help promote it, and he did a great job. But with the new album, like with COVID and everything, I thought, well, it we're probably going to be sort of limited, to just like Europe with the next album. So we needed a label which was kind of more sort of European based, really. And so this one's out on Heavy Metal Records, and that's what Dominator and Assault and Transom was on. So it's kind of sort of going back to the old days with that, isn't it? Really, kind of feels like a safe pair of shoes, really.
Sure. I mean, record labels still do offer something to bands. I mean, it's not like it used to be in the 80s where you get big advances and you go into the studio. It's a different world today, as far as the business part of music goes. But it still is important, I think, for a band to be on a label and have that distribution and that help than to do it on your own if you have to. Yeah,
you need a label with all the distribution. It's a nightmare for bands to try and do it all themselves. They haven't got sort of the contacts, and there's you kind of really, that's what a label brings to the table, really. They can get distributed and all over the world, and we've always had a worldwide kind of fan base, and we couldn't do it without a label kind of putting it out for us. I mean, we can. It really is sort of Japan and Europe and America and everywhere. You need it out everywhere, and because of this sort of day and age where you get a lot of sort of piracy, it's important to get the label out all over the world at the same time before everybody's already heard it or obtained it from elsewhere. So
Sure.
You need a label to kind of get it out there. So it's going to be March the 11th. It's going to be available. I think the vinyl's going to be a bit later. There is a shortage in Europe for vinyl, so we've fallen foul of that, really. It was supposed to be all available at the same time, the CDs and the vinyls and everything. But the vinyl's going to be just a bit later, as soon as they can get them pressed, really. But the CD's going to be available from March 11th, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, there are shortages all over the world with everything right now. You can't get gas. Food is costing a fortune. You can't get vinyl records. It's like
how much gas is now? I mean, like it was so cheap, like when we were touring there, and it's incredibly expensive, isn't it? In fact, everything's getting really expensive, isn't it now?
It's I go to get gas in the morning before I go out, and when I come back, that same gas station has raised the prices, like 20 to 30 cents, which, it's on. I'm like, didn't I just pay a lot less than that 4 hours? It's like going up by the hour now here in the U.S. That's how California, it's so expensive. I don't know how people out there could afford it. It's crazy what's going on.
It is crazy situation, something's got to happen, hasn't it, really? But
yeah.
Like it's funny, it's like history, isn't it? It's all there. These kind of situations have happened before, but we never learn from history, and there's still the same bad guys out there, isn't there?
It's amazing. I was saying to my wife the other day when we were watching news, I said, how is it even possible that after all we've been through in this world, from one war to the next, that one major country can invade another country right on everybody's nose and nobody does nothing about it? How does that happen? And didn't we learn from Hitler? Didn't we learn from World War I and II and Vietnam and all the other wars? It still goes on. And, it's not like two little African nations fighting with each other because they want a tree. You're talking Russia.
It's just crazy. I mean, it's like, we just don't learn from these things, and to do nothing's the biggest crime of all, like in the song Guardians of the Universe on the new album. That song is actually, we did nothing to stop it. And, we just never learn. There's these dictators and we never put them in their place right away, which they only understand strength, don't they?
Yeah, I don't. People that are listening to this new record, I mean, they really have to pay attention to the lyrics, because as much as you don't write in reality, like I said earlier, there's so much going on here that's really happening in the world, just made up through a character, the Dominator.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, if people don't put this together. I mean, I've always loved you. I mean, as much as the music itself is great, your lyrics I love, because I feel like you're a storyteller, and I want to be told a story when I listen to my music. The bands that write based on everything going on in the world and real life things, and we kind of live that every day. So I want to escape. So that's why I love your science fiction and your horror and all that stuff. But yet there's reality within it.
That's right, and the fact is, somebody called us the Thinking Man's metal band, and I do spend a lot of time with the lyrics and conveying things over in the story. There's things I want to actually say to the world, really, but if you put them in as kind of a science fiction or sort of format, you can get the message across. But I've been looking at the lyrics myself today, and Time Assassin and the Dominator stuff, it's scary. It's really relevant. Yeah. There's a lot in there that's actually happened, and I'm just I never thought in reality we'd see this sort of a tyrant like that being allowed to sort of get away with stuff again. It's just madness. But in the end, tyrants don't last, and the good guys win in the end. So
that's right.
We can only sort of pray for the innocent people over in Ukraine and stuff, and just hope that we put him in his place once and for all.
I hope so. Lee, have you ever thought about just writing a book, writing a story, a comic type book, or anything based on it?
Yeah, I mean, I have actually written kind of a sort of kids book. It's just having time to finish it, really. But it is kind of finished. I probably will get it sort of published. But the comic book concept, I do like doing that. And a lot of people, I got asked to sort of be an artist for a comic book called The Eagle in England. It's kind of a famous sort of comic book.
Yeah.
And there was Dan Dare and everything, and the editor asked me if I want to be an artist for them once, but all I wanted to be was a rock star, really. And and I didn't do it, but don't rule that out. I love comic books, and I do enjoy sort of telling. I mean, really, at the core of it, I suppose that's the main thing. At least, I am a storyteller, really, and I really like those sort of the creative sort of imaginative side of me, hold full sway. Like I really enjoy writing stories, and you're quite right. Cloven Hoof, it's like I like to take people on a journey, like with a start, middle, and an end, like, and it's really, I don't want it just to be a standard throwaway song, like I want to tell a story, and I want to let people escape, because sometimes the world's, not good enough, is it really? You want
Sure.
something better, and and I want people, you can rock out to Cloven Hoof, like you can go to the concerts and go crazy, but you can also sit back and sort of listen and let it sort of flow over you and take you to another world. And that's what I've tried to do all these years. So, it's great to talk to people like you, Mike. You totally get it, what we're trying to do.
I've been there since the beginning, and I'll be there until the end, which I hope doesn't come anytime soon. But just to plant the seed in your head, the whole Dominator thing in comic book form, long form comic book form. Just think about
really,
it. Put that story together with artwork.
Before I die, I'm going to have to do it, aren't I? I've got to do it, because I've got to get the sort of vision across how I see it, like, and I'll try and make that happen,
That would be great.
Just for you.
Listen, Kiss put out a comic book in the 70s with Marvel. They put their blood into the ink, to make it. So you get a little engine oil for the Dominator, and you put it into the ink, and you create the comic book series.
That's it. I'll tell you what, that would be cool. We need somebody like Marvel sort of bringing that out. Like I've been a fan of Marvel comics. In fact, I learned to read at like 4.5 years old, because I had to know what the hell Spider-Man was saying. Hang on, this is a bright kid you've got. It wasn't that. I just had to know what they're saying. I wanted to know what those funny bubbles, what's Spider-Man saying again. So I learned to read super early. So, Marvel have I don't know where I'll be without them, to be quite honest.
No, I think most of us that grew up in the 60s and 70s, got our first reading experiences from comic books. Myself being a big Marvel fan, and I'm lucky enough that I caught my mother before she threw out all my comics when I moved out when I got married 30-something years ago. So I still have all my original comics from the 70s.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. They're going to be worth quite a lot of money now.
Yeah, I remember looking at them one time like, well, I paid 10 cents for that comic book. I look online, it's like $3. Like, wow, $3.
Yeah, in England it was like sixpence.
Yeah.
Like that's 2.5p. That's like wouldn't be anything really, would it?
I know. But then
I've got a few of them still. I got like some early sort of Spider-Man. I had Hulk #2, but I needed a bass guitar, so that had to go.
That's what happens.
So something that cost 6 pence bought a £2,500 Rickenbacker bass.
Oh my God. Can you imagine
Thank goodness for Marvel.
Well, Lee, I mean, now, with the album officially coming out tomorrow, March 11th, I mean, are there any plans in the works? How are things over there right now? I know you can't just book a show for Saturday and go play because you got the band here in America, some of the band here in America, but I mean, do you have any plans for this year with the band as far as the live music goes?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of coming out of it in England, COVID hasn't gone away. It's just that we're learning to live with it, really. I mean, I've had my 3 jabs and stuff, and it means you can still get COVID, but it isn't going to kill you, the chances are anyway. But we kind of it's relaxing in England now. We're kind of getting over it. So I would have said, by next year it should be fine. We are going to play Keep It True Festival in Germany. I have agreed to that, and that's with Saxon and Diamond Head and Tigers of Pantang and everything. It'll be great, because I know all those bands, and we'll have a great time. But the thing is, I don't really want to book too many until I know it's absolutely safe for the fans, because I just couldn't live with myself if some of the fans like went down with that just by seeing a concert. But I think by next year, I think the worst will be over, and I think a lot of the shows will be coming back. I certainly hope so, because I miss it so much. It's a kill. Musicians want to get out there and play to people, don't they? And we love playing live more than anything. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Mike, next year.
I hope it happens, and I'm hoping that you do get back here to the U.S. and a little closer to where I live, so I can come see you live. I was so disappointed I couldn't get to any of those shows. They were just too far for me to travel at the time. But I know the next time around, it'll make its way through my neck of the woods.
You'll get to see us. Don't worry. Don't you worry. We'll get over to the States as soon as we can. You know, we got a really good agent over there. Scott will get us sort of booked in, Scott Clute. So we'll try and make some shows next year for you.
I'm looking forward to that. Lee, I'm not going to keep. I know it's getting real late where you are in England, so I love talking with you. I never feel like I'm interviewing you. I just feel like we're just shooting the shit, talking the breeze and whatever, just having a good time together, talking about music. But thank you for all these years of putting out great records. And Time Assassin, another one that's just going to blow people away when they hear this record tomorrow for the first time. And, we're going to promote the hell out of it like we do with all the Cloven Hoof stuff.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike. You take care. You stay safe, and your wonderful family as well. Say hi to them for me.
I will, Lee.
And we'll try and play for you next year.
You got it, my friend. I'm looking forward to it. Take care. Have a great day.
Take care, my friend. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Federation, holy warrior nation, sanctified to keep frontiers free. Destined early warning, now the time is dawning. Empires rise to wage unwinding boys to take. Kamikaze squadron, Oriental samurais, built to seek out and destroy. Tokyo nights in shining armor, made in the land of the rising sun. Dragon like us, breathing fire, wielding the sword of the nation. Agile as a monkey, mighty as a bear, metal beasts are on the march, inscrutable beware. Automated dreadnoughts, fighting for the earth, transform like robotic toys. Tokyo nights in shining armor, made in the land of the rising sun. Dragon like horse, breathing fire, wielding the sword of the nation. Samurai! 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 Hey, listen, Cassidy. Enter the drama. Savage as a tiger, coiled like a snake. In the east, the serpent is unwinding, poised to take. Kamikaze squadron, Oriental samurais, built to seek out and destroy. Tokyo nights, Tokyo shining armor, made in the land of the rising sun. Dragon like us, breathing fire, wielding the sword of the nation. Samurai! Samurai!
I mean, this is definitely my favorite album of the year so far. Absolutely love the brand new Cloven Hoof. Go and order yourself a copy of it. Lee Payne has always been one of my favorite guests, and I enjoy talking to him so much. All right, and before that, we had more brand new Cloven Hoof for you right there with Guardians of the Universe. And before the interview, we did Crack the Whip, some old school stuff. Back in the day when the band was known and had the names of Air, Fire, Earth, and Wind, or whatever the hell it was. I don't remember. They were the Elements, but I love these guys. All right, next week we were supposed to have Kevin Wynn from Tyson Dog on the show, but we haven't really nailed down a date because we have to pre-record that because of the time difference. I'll reach out to him this week, see if we're going to make that happen. If not, I will have somebody else in the show. We're going to wrap up the month of March with all the guys from Frightmare, so I'm looking forward to talking to Brian Miller of the band again. That'll be the last Sunday of the month. All right, we're going to do a few more tunes. We're going to wrap it up here today. I was just listening to the new Anvil. Maybe next week we'll get on something off that record. Impact is imminent. You know, new Anvil sounds like old Anvil. Old Anvil sounds like Anvil. Almost every Anvil song over the last maybe 8 or 9 records sounds the exact same. They have 2 patterns of songwriting, and every song falls into one of those 2, where Lips reads and sings exactly to the music. You know, he doesn't like go off key or experiment or try anything different. It's just straightforward. The same sound, the same vocals on every single song. So if you like what Anvil's been doing, you'll love this record because it's more of the same. They must have been high when they came up with the title, because Exodus have an record called Impact is Imminent. I guess they didn't realize that when they named this album. Alright, let me see. What can we do now here? What else is going on? Oh, Iron Allies is going to be great. David Reese's new band. Check it out. They're in the studio right now. Last time we talked to David, he gave me all the info on the band, and it sounds like it's going to be a great one. So I'm looking forward to playing some music off of that and getting David back on. He's another one of my favorite guests that I like to talk to. And last time we spoke, I wasn't doing the live show, so it was just a recorded interview. And it I kind of like doing them live. I have to be honest with you. Last week talking to Kevin Montgomery from Driven to Revolt Live was fun. I miss doing the live ones, but we're going to get back into them more and more as I figure out this system and how to use it. I think we got it down now, so we'll get there. All right, how about we do, let me see. I don't know what I'm going to play next. I got a couple of tunes left. There's not much time left in the show, believe it or not, 15 minutes. So how about we do some Dum Dum Bullet, band out of France. Kind of never went anywhere, but I still have the original copy of this record. So here's Burning Power.
We've got burning power! Rock and dance and give you the power you need. If you wanna get high, you got to have it down right. We've got burning power!
All right, that was Rat Attack with Cold Dungeons. I meant to play another song, but I accidentally clicked on it. I didn't want to stop, so I let it go through. I really wasn't in the mood for an instrumental today. I wanted to play Man on the Moon, the song before it, but we kind of got that one on instead. We had Leslie Rip, the guitar player for the band, on the show. I think it was the year before we stopped doing the live show, so around 2011 or 12. And he was a fun guy and a great guy to talk to. And he has multiple albums that he's put out, solo records, and they're pretty much all instrumentals. That's what he likes doing. There's no chance of a Rat Attack reunion happening, but it would be pretty cool. Band came out of Hawaii back in the day, and I absolutely enjoyed that record to its fullest. All right, we're going to wrap things up here tonight. Like I said, I'll check with Kevin Wynn this week, see if we're going to have him on next Sunday night. Tyson Dog has a brand new record coming out. If not, I got a few other interviews in the works. We'll get one of them on for you. Before we close things out here tonight, it's great to have my old co-host, Big T, Tommy, back in the chat room with us. Maybe next week we'll join us earlier and we'll get him on the air and we could do like an old type of show like we used to do and talk and go back and forth. But it's good to have him back here again. And before we close things out here tonight, I just want to wish my father a happy 78th birthday. It's tomorrow. He is the true metal god. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. He's done everything he could for me in my lifetime. From getting smacked in the ass for talking out of time and being a bad boy when I was a little kid to supporting me in everything I've ever done. I love the man. So here you go. Judas Priest, Metal Gods. Happy birthday, Pop. Take care, everybody. See you next week.
We've taken too much for granted, and all the time it had grown. From techno seeds we first planted, evolved a mind of its own. Marching in the streets, dragging iron feet, laser beaming hearts, ripping men apart. From others seen our perfection, where we could do as we please. In secrecy, this infection was spreading like a disease. Hiding underground, knowing we'd be found, fearing for our lives, read my robot sights. Metal God. Metal God. Machines are taking all over, with mankind in their command. In time they learn to discover how they could make that demand. Better be the